This is Let's Talk Teens, a parenting podcast sharing tips on raising amazing teenagers. We are both certified life coaches that have worked with teenagers as coaches, mentors, and teachers. We are sharing what we have found to work best when dealing with teens and tough issues.
This is Abbi and Cheree with Let's Talk Teens, episode 39. Help signs to teach your teen to have a healthy life.
Cheree, I was kind of thinking, when I was brainstorming this episode of just some basics that you can look for as a parent to kind of just check in and know, okay, is my teenage son or daughter healthy, right? Because I think as parents, we're always wondering are they getting enough water? Are they getting enough sleep? All these things. And as I came up with this list, I realized a lot of these are kind of internal checks. You really only as the person living this life know the answer to these. So I thought, you know what? I think this is powerful as parents to know kind of these basic health checks to go, okay, these things should be happening in a normal, healthy teenage body. And then to share that knowledge with your son or daughter and to say, hey, I heard this crazy lady on a podcast, and here's some of the things she said that should be happening, in a teenage body just for you to be aware of. So hopefully this can be one of those episodes where you hear some good ideas and pass them along to your teenage son or daughter to help them learn just some basics of, okay, as a human being, as a teenager in this body, here's some normal things that I should expect or normal things that I need to be doing to take care of my body.
I love it. I think it's so important too. Just a lot of times gets forgotten. We just don't talk about it because there's so many other things that take precedence or we think take precedence.
Totally. And I don't know if you feel this way, Cherie, but I think in our teenage years, as part of that autonomy, as part of that searching for identity, it's when we start to label ourselves and to experiment with our health and to, um, I don't know, to really become body conscious. And this does not have to be negative in any way, right? But it is when, as a teenager, that's when I really was like, oh, I want to make healthier eating choices, right? This is where I've noticed a lot of teens go, well, I'm going to be vegan. I'm going to be vegetarian, right? That's actually quite common. So if your teen is kind of going through that, nothing's gone wrong here, right? That's really common that they are trying on a couple different identities, and a lot of those have to do with their health and their body and their fitness.
And what they're hearing from the outside world and what they're hearing from friends. And that's why I always go back to, I think it's so important to have hold space and have open communication with your teens and with your kids that they can come talk to you about anything because they're going to hear a lot from other people and see a lot and, watch their friends. Some of them, are going to eat super healthy and some are going to eat super unhealthy. And so having that really open communication that they can come to you with whatever they're thinking about doing if they're wanting to change their diet, I think is just so important.
Yes. Well, so kind of here's your checklist. And I decided, you know what? Let's start with the gross one first. But as a teenager and as adults, we should be pooping once a day. So have your teen check, am I pooping at least once a day? And I know that that is gross. And, I hate to even talk about that, but that's a good sense of I'm getting enough food. I'm getting enough fiber, right? All those kind of things to keep everything regular. If your teen is going couple days without going number two, that could indicate, oh, I'm maybe not eating enough food with enough fiber or enough food, right? All those kind of things can just be clues. It doesn't mean disaster or you're so unhealthy, but it's just a good internal check of okay, yes, I'm going poop at least once a day, right?
Yeah, and I think teaching our kids why that's important. Okay, your body has this amazing ability and system to get rid of waste, to get things, to get rid of toxins, to get rid of the things that we've eaten, drink, breathe in that aren't the best for us that our body doesn't need. And so we want the body to get rid of that waste so that it doesn't store inside of us and become this toxic waste inside of us that then does create problems and does poison us in a way. So it's
Yes.
this is just a really, this is why it's important. You should be pooping once a day, and this is why it's important. And if you aren't, let's change it so that we can help you be your healthiest self.
Yeah. And right. And all these are just little internal clues, right? Well,
Mhm.
the second one is for our teenage daughters, and that is, am I having a regular, consistent period? Now, had you asked me when I was a teenager, do you have a regular period? I would have been like, no, I'd never know when my period's happening. And that guess what? It's taken me to be in my 30s to finally figure out, oh, I have a really long cycle compared to what other women are experiencing as normal. So actually, yes, I have quite a regular period, but I had no idea as a teenager, oh, my cycle is quite a bit longer than my friends who are having their period every single month. So it's not so much that, oh, every single month I'm having a period, but whatever's regular for you. And guess what? What's amazing is there's these awesome apps to help us track this. So whatever your daughter's cycle is, she should be having a period every cycle. And why this is so important is the female body, and it's kind of weird to think that our teenager, like, um, physically is, in their womanhood body. Our body will only have a period, right? If everything is working well enough that our body goes, oh, I could have a baby. Now, do we want them to have a baby? No. But our body's like, everything is functioning well enough. I'm getting enough calories. I'm getting enough nutrients that I could have a baby. And so that's what our body's designed to do as a woman. And so we should be very regular and making sure, okay, if I'm skipping periods, it's typically because I'm not getting enough nutrients. I'm not getting enough food. And I didn't know this. So, Cheree, when I was competing for Miss Utah and I was kind of on some crazy diets, looking back, I was like, oh, I would skip my period for like 6 months at a time. And that should have been a check to me of, oh, I'm not serving my body well right now because I don't even have enough nutrients that my body says, yes, you should do this function. That is your role as like a biological woman. And so that's a really big one is that your daughter should be having a regular period.
Absolutely. And not just like not getting enough food, but also I know of women and young girls, teenage girls. I know this happened to my daughter when she was on her mission that go a long period when there's a change or like an increase of stress or emotional. So it's just so good. Again, I love how you said, like, even with the pooping with this, they're just clues. They're just clues that something needs to be addressed and something needs to change. Of like, okay, something's going on here. Let's take a look.
Yeah, like if I'm stressed enough, like sometimes I don't know if you're like this, Sheree, but I feel like my mental stress level is pretty high, but then my body physically has to remind me I'm stressed. And that's one of the ways, right? Is oh, we skip a period because my body is stressed out. And so that should give us pause. That should make us go, ooh, what's happening here? And guess what? Sometimes, like maybe your daughter on the mission, hey, I have a companion. That is driving me nuts. I moved to a new area. Like sometimes it's really explainable and we go, okay, yeah, that's called life. But if it's, man, I constantly am feeling stressed about this, we should talk to mom and dad. We should talk to somebody. And if we know that clue to look for, it can be a good catalyst to a conversation.
Absolutely.
Now, the third thing to have your teen check for is if they're getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep. And I know when you're like, hey, I listened to this podcast and she said you should be getting 8 to 10 hours, your teen, they are going to roll their eyes. Sleep is such a loaded topic with a teenager. They would rather do anything than sleep. Um,
Except for no, they want to sleep. They just want to sleep in the morning.
yes, when they shouldn't be, right? When they should be up or Saturday or Sundays. And
Yes.
so the research is actually out on whether you can catch up on sleep. Like some reports say, yeah, you can catch up on a little, and some say no. Like your body runs off of that sleep from the night before, and you can't like make that up. And so I just think as a parent, what you can do, because it's really hard to control your teen's sleep schedule, right? You can even have them be in their room, but they're not asleep, right? And so let them adult and be in charge of that. But I think it's so important as a parent to set that standard and expectation and to say, you know what? Our bodies, your body specifically, needs 8 to 10 hours. And so if they're not getting that, when they're stressed, when they're cranky, when they're tired, point that out. Say, hey, how many hours of sleep did you get last night? Right. And they're like, oh, I stayed up. I had to study for this test. And then, I have to go to the gym at 5 so I can make it to my dance class at this time. Bringing that up and saying, I know you've got a way busy schedule, but I think you would feel a lot better if you got some sleep, right? And just making that they know, hey, 8 to 10 hours and I would feel better.
Yeah. And the truth of the matter is, again, the why behind it is they will perform better physically, mentally, emotionally if they've received that sleep, right? That 8 to 10 hours is when the body and the brain rebuild, restore, rejuvenate. Everything is happening during that time. It's like the magical time for their body to be able to perform mentally, emotionally, physically, all the things that our bodies need to perform. So, we're like, oh, I have this test to study for, or I need to go to the gym. And yet your body isn't going to be at its optimal level of performance when you have lacked in that sleep. And so it's just a really good reminder of again telling them like why you need that sleep. It's not just because I'm just like to talk and tell you what to do. There's like some real scientific research behind that in your body.
Well, and we can't force somebody to sleep, but you can really set some right guidelines of, hey, everybody's in their room at this time. And we've talked about this. We just recently talked about this, but I'll die on the hill of your teen should not have their phone. That will 100% impact their sleep. And so having rules like that in place make it far more likely that this will happen for your teen. And it really is. Talk to any mental health professional, any counselor, any therapist, and they'll tell you, no, sleep is a massive part of this mental health equation.
100%.
Now, the fourth thing to check with your teen and to give them as a help tip is to ask, do I get sunshine every day? And 30 minutes is that magical number out there that we can start to see some of those benefits. But I just like to check with my teen and say, hey, have we gone outside today? Have we breathed some air? Have we touched some grass? Right? All these things of getting sunshine, going outside, again, is part of this mental health equation that when our teen, and I get it, they go to school. And sometimes if we're here in Utah in the winter, that's before the sun is up, right? They get home, they do homework, hang out with friends. Sometimes they're going really long periods of time with not like no exposure to sunshine, no exposure to being outside. And that's important. So just letting your teen know that.
That vitamin D is so important too, again, for mental health, for physical health, emotional health, like all of it. We need it. We need that sun. It's so good.
Lastly, the health question to check in on is, do I drink water above everything else? Now, I worded this uniquely because I think if I put like, do I drink enough water? That's kind of like, do I read my scriptures enough? Do I exercise? Like, it's hard to put a quantifiable number to that. But as a teenager, I think it's important. Like, do I drink water more than I drink energy drinks? Do I drink water more than I drink, my favorite fizz soda? And I think that's just really important to teach our teen, like, absolutely, go have your fizz, go have your soda. Like, there's nothing wrong in that. But do I also make sure I have 12 ounces of water? Do I also make sure that I'm drinking enough that I feel energized? And I think people are always amazed that dehydration is manifest in feeling tired. And so your teen who's chronically tired, maybe a little bit of water with some sunshine with those extra hours of sleep could really make a difference.
Well, I'm gonna like step in here on the I do think that there is an amount that they should drink of
Tell me,
water.
Cheree, because I was like, I don't know what that would be.
So I've always learned it that it's half your body weight in ounces a day. So like
I've
if you
heard that
weigh
too.
120 pounds, you should be drinking 60 ounces of water. And yeah, like I mean, my children, they hear my strong words about sodas and energy drinks, and I know everyone has a choice and has agency. But really water is so good for our bodies. It helps everything function better. Everything, right? Because a lot of our body, it's a really high number. I want to say it's like 60 to 70% of our body is made up of water. And so it is that whole like, getting everything to work better in our body. If we're not pooping once a day, it also could be our water intake. If we're not
Yep.
having a period regularly, it could be our water intake. And so I love that you put water in there because it really is such an important one. And it is something like we need water. And yeah, I'm not going to tell people not to drink their sodas, but drink your water. It will help
Mhm.
everything. It will help your brain function better. It will help your kidneys function better. It will help your every organ in your body function better.
Well, and it's low hanging fruit, right? I feel like helping your teen get more sleep, that's a little bit mid, higher fruit, that you're trying to get. The
Yeah.
water, low hanging fruit. Like, let's get you a cool water bottle. Awesome. So hopefully, parents, these are just some things, right, to pass along to your teen to have you kind of mentally like, okay, yeah, my daughter's mentioned she's had a period. Like, okay, we're doing good, right? To just kind of check in, help them check in because this is such a time of body autonomy, which is great, right? I'm actually potty training one of my kids right now, and I'm like, this sucks. This is so hard. Like, I
It
just
does
want them to
suck.
have body autonomy. And so they're exploring new health things, new ways that they want to eat. I'm sure they've told you, Mom, I need this at dinner, right? And so let them explore that part of who they are, but also help them know, okay, we got to be sure we're hitting these basics and not missing things like our period and like our sleep because it's going to affect our mental health.
Absolutely. So good. So many great questions and tips to teach our teens.
Okay, parents, well, we will see you in our next episode. Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Teens with Cheree Murdock and Abbi Winslow. If you are looking for more tips to help your teenager, here's where you can find us. You can find Cheree Murdock on Instagram at Cheree Murdock Coaching or on her website, ChereeMurdock.com. You can find me, Abbi, on Instagram as Abbi Winslow or on my website, AbbiWinslow.com. Please rate and review our podcast and share with a fellow parent. Thanks for listening.